going on YouTube? Welcome back to JD's NerdVerse. My name is JD. We are going to dive into this today. We are ranking all of the mainstream Star Wars movies. We're not doing TV shows. That'll be a different video. And I wanted to do this before I did any kind of review on Kenobi. It's a fantastic show. I will give my 2 cents on it. Kind of a breakdown of how I went through this show, kind of emotionally, I guess, from beginning to end. But today we are going to be ranking all the Star Wars movies. And obviously this is going to trigger a lot of people on the internet because I have certain opinions that people don't like and vice versa. People they have opinions that I don't like. But it is what it is. But before I get started, please follow me on Twitter. It is JD's NerdVerse, and on Instagram, JD's_nerd_verse. And also, if you like this content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll get basically this all the time. Comment and like. I would love some feedback on my videos. See what people like, what people don't like, where I can do some improvement. But you gotta have feedback to know where you need to improve, okay? So without further ado, we're gonna dive into this. We're gonna go from worst to best. So, the worst Star Wars movie by a country mile and by From Here to the Moon is The Last Jedi. This movie is atrocious. It is so bad. It is such a bad movie. If you like this movie, more power to you. I can't stand this movie. It is so disjointed. It is so bad. This was made by somebody who doesn't like Star Wars. That is my personal opinion on this movie. Rian Johnson, though he may claim he is a Star Wars fan, he is not a Star Wars fan. It was made by someone who doesn't like Star Wars. There's a lot of things wrong with this movie. I may unpack that after the list is done, but there are so many things on God's green earth that are wrong with this movie on so many levels. You ignored the laws of the world you're in. You just made up stuff. You added stuff where you thought needed to. There's politics in it. I don't want that. It's a Star Wars movie. We've never had politics in it before, and now all of a sudden we're injecting a whole bunch of other crap into this movie. This movie was just really bad, extremely bad, and it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's still Star Wars, so it will still in a way entertain you, but once you get past the shiny colors and the bright lightsabers and stuff like that, you have to think about it like, how does this fit into Star Wars, and it doesn't fit in very well. A lot of stuff's ignored, so on and so forth, and that to me is why. And I actually had a conversation with my friend the other day, and he doesn't care enough about these movies. And I'm like, dude, I've invested a large portion of my life, my personal time, to Star Wars the brand, and I've invested a large portion of my time to other brands. This is why I care so much. This is why I care when they want to taint things with bad directors who don't know Star Wars and don't know the rules of Star Wars and don't know how the world of Star Wars operates, and just want to do what they want just because they can and they have the power to do it. It doesn't belong to, like, Disney owns Star Wars, the intellectual property. They don't own Star Wars. Okay? The fans own Star Wars. People who enjoy Star Wars are the ones who own Star Wars. That's just like if you're a Knicks fan, the owner of the Knicks doesn't own the Knicks. New York owns the Knicks. Okay? It's a combination of a lot of things owning that. Say a lot of sports teams are like that. Okay, in intellectual properties, the fans own Star Wars, and I believe a lot of fans were disappointed because the world in which Star Wars is in was completely just ignored, and stuff was thrown in just to suit the plot or suit lazy writing, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I won't go too much further into that. Maybe at the end I will, but I'm gonna go on to the next movie. The next movie is Raza Skywalker. The title doesn't make sense. She's a Palpatine, not a Skywalker. There's not a Skywalker in the movie. Yeah, Palpatine's granddaughter Rey, and you have a Solo, but you don't really have any actual Skywalkers. It doesn't make any damn sense. This movie is not much better. It's better than Last Jedi, but not by much. Well, let me rephrase that. Last Jedi is so bad that there's a mild difference between these two movies. And the Rise of Skywalker wasn't great. My friend calls it Damage Control the movie. And I think that's like the greatest name for a movie ever is Star Wars Damage Control the movie. And it's just basically fixing a lot of stuff that The Last Jedi did. It didn't build off Last Jedi. It didn't build off anything. It just kind of fixed all the dumb mistakes that they made in The Last Jedi. That, yeah, so I'm not going to get too further into this, but it was not a very good movie, in my personal opinion. And I could pick it apart. There's very bad acting in it. There's no like Chewie blows up, and there's almost no emotion about it. And they kind of have like 5 seconds where they kind of have alligator tears about him dying, and then 2 scenes later, like, oh, he's alive. Oh, okay, cool. You just cried about it. Now he's back. Like, oh, you're not relieved. You're not have any emotion. There's more emotion out of the robot who's going to get his memory wiped than there is out of the human beings in the room. It's just so bad. It's so poorly done, but it's better done than the Rise of the Last Jedi. I'll give it that. But it's just very poorly done. The title doesn't even make sense. A lot of things about this movie just don't make sense and are not very well done. So the next movie, number 9 on this list. So if you're ranking these, there's actually 11 movies. So 11th is probably like 20th actually is The Last Jedi, and then 10th is Raza Skywalker. Number 9 is Star Wars Episode 2, and I don't even hate this movie. It's just a lot of stuff about it that's just not great. If you didn't have the B-plot love story in it, probably wouldn't be that bad. It really wouldn't. It wouldn't be that bad at all. This is that B-plot love story where there's no like on-screen chemistry between Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen. There's just nothing there. There's on-screen chemistry when the fighting starts. It's just nothing romantically chemistry there. So that like eats up a lot of the plot, and it's just of the 3 movies of the prequel trilogy, it is just not very well done, and it's the worst of the 3 by far. So moving on to number 8. Now, a lot of people are going to be mad about this one because a lot of people think this one's one of the lower ones. Solo is number 8 to me. I think Solo is actually a very solid movie. I think it's pretty good. The only thing about it is the social justice warrior robot. It's the most annoying part, but everything else about it is right. The guy who played Solo did okay. He didn't do great, but he did okay. What's his name? Donald Glover played Lando Calrissian. Played fantastic. The plot was good. You had the villain was pretty good. Good action scenes. It's what you expect out of a Star Wars movie. I think the problem why this movie didn't do so well was it was right on the heels of Last Jedi, and people were tainted by Last Jedi, and it ruined this movie's opportunity to make good money. Like the Last Jedi came out in December. Solo came out in like May. So it was very close to the release date. This was supposed to be, pegged as a trilogy, and at the end you have a great teaser for Darth Maul at the end, with what's it called? Something Dawn, Crescent Dawn, something like that. Some organization that's involved in Star Wars. So I don't dislike the movie. I think the movie is actually very good. It's just one little subtle thing about it I would change, like that stupid robot's annoying, and it kind of diminishes Han Solo's abilities a little bit by the way they incorporate this robot. But all in all, it's not a bad movie. It's a pretty solid movie, and we're going to move on to the next one. So number 7 to me is The Force Awakens. Probably I think it's the highest grossing movie or Star Wars movie there is to date. Now, if you adjust for inflation, it's Star Wars, the original Star Wars movie, by a country mile. It's not even close. It's like $3.5 billion, and this one made 2 point something. So it reintroduced Star Wars, and everyone's excited about having a Star Wars movie because we hadn't had one since Episode 3. And so I think it was about a good 10 years, 10 to 15, maybe 20 years. Almost 20 years. Yeah, I was in high school when it came out. So it was a good amount of time between the last Star Wars movie that we had and then this one. So it did okay. It's basically Episode 4 redone. It's basically what it is. It's Episode 4 redone. It's all the best way to put it. They put in some of the old characters, and they kill off one. Not really happy about that. They kill off one, but it's not bad. It's exciting. Had great graphics. Like visually, these movies are all amazing. The problem with this movie is, like I said, it's exactly the same plot as Episode 4. It is exactly the same plot as Episode 4. And yeah, I liked this movie when it came out. I was very excited about it, and it was good. And then after, like I said, I watched it a couple times and like, ooh, pretty colors, and it looks nice. And then you start thinking about the plot, and the plot is not very well made plot compared to the other movies. So moving on, number 6. Number 6 is Episode 1. Now, most people hate this movie, and for a long time, I honestly wasn't the biggest fan of this movie. But the reason why I've grown to be a big fan of this movie is I've listened to Dave Filoni, and Dave Filoni to me is the gospel when it comes to Star Wars. Him and George Lucas are the gospel. Jon Favreau's getting there, but those two are, when they speak of Star Wars, I listen. And Jon Favreau says that Episode 1 is kind of what starts the escalation into the series, what starts really the Star Wars series, because you have young Anakin, who's never had a father figure, who gets Qui-Gon Jinn as a father figure, who he listens to and respects, and he dies. And the person who ends up training him is not a father figure, but a brother figure in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that's what snowballs everything. If Qui-Gon doesn't die, Anakin becomes a much different person, because Qui-Gon, what's to say, Obi-Wan's probably a purist when it comes to the Force. You know, you got to be all in the way Jedi should be, based on the explanation that we're given by by Yoda. Okay, no, all about the Force, no passion, just the Force, nothing else. The Jedi creed to the letter, right? Qui-Gon doesn't think that's why he's not on the Jedi Council. He's one of the wisest ones there, but he's not on the Jedi Council because he doesn't believe that it's all about, you know, just focusing on the Force. There's more to the Force than just the light side, dark side. There's gray areas. There's areas that are better, and that's where I think Qui-Gon would have been able to associate with Anakin. He would have understood Anakin's struggles with leaving his mother. Probably would have took Anakin back to get his mother rather than just, you know, keeping him away from everything. He would have understood those things better, and that is why this movie is so important. The death of Qui-Gon snowballs all these events that lead to Episode 3, and then eventually the episodes, like the snowballs to Episode 6 after that. So that is why, and the movie's amazing. The movie's, you can't look at it and say it's not good fun. Plot makes sense. There's one annoying character, I'll give you that, but the battle between the Gungans and the droids, I liked it. The lightsaber battle is one of the best lightsaber battles you ever come across. You get to see young Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's pod racing's fun. A lot of good things about this movie. Is it the best acted movie? No, none of them are really that great acted. But there are a lot of good things about this movie. And like I said, whenever the man, the myth, the legend, Qui-Gon Jinn talks, I listen. So, moving on to The Last Jedi is number 5 to me. The Return of the Jedi, I'm sorry. Number 5, The Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is not a bad movie. It's pretty solid in most senses. It's just like, it's pretty much took a part of the first movie, threw in that plot, and it's more action packed. So when I was younger, I loved this movie because it was way more action packed than any other movie out there, Star Wars wise. Like, I hated episode 5. I hated like the Empire Strikes Back. But as I got older, I respected it more and I understood more about it. As I got older, some movies got better and some movies got worse. The Return of the Jedi is one that got a little bit worse to me because some things just didn't make sense. It did bring some things to like full circle and finish off some things very well, which is why I think it's still in the top 5 of all Star Wars movies. But there are better Star Wars movies out there than The Last Jedi. There's some great things about it. Great air fights, great on battles on Forest Moon of Endor, and you'll also have the really good lightsaber fight between even Jawa's the fight on Jawa's party boat or whatever you want to call it. So very solid movie altogether, and very good movie. Moving on, I'm gonna move on, and I actually had a list I made a while back, and I've grown to change this list a little bit. Number 4 is Star Wars: A New Hope. Now, the reason why I'm putting it on there is this movie is how do I put this movie? It's good. Like, there's some huge, massive plot holes in it, but it's a good movie. It's the first of its kind, and it's one of the most. It's the pinnacle of, like, you can probably look at this movie and say this is when movies changed. This is when why movies, all these things about movies drastically changed. And the direction of movies went in a different direction, where the quality of movies and what you could do in movies, everyone started thinking outside the box. They started thinking differently about how can we make movies and how can we make movies better than we've made them in the past. And this movie is good because it leads you in. It's a good lead in to the first movie. You couldn't start up Star Wars Episode 1 as your first movie, made in 1977. You couldn't do it. But you could do it with this one. The way this one was designed, the way it was made, the way it was written, it all snowballs in together. It creates the universe it exists in very well, and it just does an amazing job of really starting off the franchise. There are some movies that are done better. There are some movies that capture greater moments. But this is one of the best movies in Star Wars. It's top 4 Star Wars movies, the 4th one. Number 3 is Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith really puts a lot of things together, and it puts a lot of things in perspective for the Star Wars series. It puts in perspective what Anakin is capable of. He in the first 10 minutes of the movie, he kills Dooku. He kills Dooku. In the first, he also saves Obi-Wan when he's told to abandon Obi-Wan. You can see the struggle from the entire time, like from the movie starts, that he's battling back and forth between these two things. He literally stops himself from killing Dooku originally, and then because he's told to by the Emperor at Palpatine, he does it, and it goes back and forth consistently. It goes back, and you can see it through the movie. It bounces back and forth consistently through him, and then it rolls into what's it called? You have what's bounced back to Kenobi. Kenobi kills Grievous. Kenobi actually kills Grievous, finishes him off, and then you have Order 66. You have Mace Windu fighting Palpatine, almost has him dead to rights, and then Anakin shows up. Like I said, if you don't have the Episode 1, that scene may never happen because the Emperor doesn't feel confident enough to reveal himself to Anakin. That he doesn't feel confident Anakin's struggling enough with his inner demons that he can reveal himself and tempt him with the dark side. You just don't have that if you don't have Episode 1. So Episode 3, it does well of closing off the trilogy, and it does well of leaving up the Episode 4. It leaves open Episode 4 very, very well. So yeah, that is Episode 3, and that's why I really like it. The lightsaber battle on this is great. You're seeing a lot of that stuff flashback in Kenobi, so it's probably going to enhance a lot of those things for a lot of people. It's probably why I've moved it up from 5 to 3. I did a list a while back, maybe like 6 months ago, and I think I had it at 5, but now I have it at 3, and it's a lot of these things are tying into it. Number 2, and this might be blasphemy for a lot of people. Number 2 is going to be Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is from beginning to end, is probably the best written Star Wars movie of the original trilogy because it has the best plot. It probably has the biggest reveal in movie history. I got some weird form of hiccups going on right now. It has probably one of the biggest plot reveals in movie history. A big old snap moment in history. As a kid, like I said, didn't like it. Didn't have a lot of good action. You have like the first scene, and then there's nothing after that. There's a lot of good film theories, by the way, that come from this movie and tie into it. And I might have another series of videos where I do film theories on these. Like there's one about Boba Fett. I'm not gonna do too much about that right now. But really enjoy this movie as an adult. It's a much better plot. It's a much better plot actually being built for the characters, and there's a lot more character development in this movie than there was in any other Star Wars movie up to this point. I mean, even the one after this in episode 6, there's not a lot of plot development for characters or actual character development. There's actually a decent amount of development in this movie compared to the others. Now, in Episode 2, they tried doing this. And I think this is what they tried to mirror from the prequel to original trilogy. Is Episode 1 was the action pack, get everyone invested. 2 is you build the characters, and 3 is you have a climax with those characters. They figure out what they are. Do they go to the dark side? They do not. And that's what they've been trying to mimic with the last 2 trilogies they've done since the original trilogy. Is the second movie needs to be building characters, and they haven't done it quite as well, nearly as well as they did with Empire Strikes Back. But Empire Strikes Back is the second best, and the number one Star Wars movie in my mind that I've just loved since it came out is Rogue One. Rogue One to me is the best Star Wars movie. It is not the focus of the Force about this movie that makes it. It's the fact that it's very apparent there's no one's coming with super space wizard powers to save us. Okay? In fact, there's an opposite of that. There's a space wizard sorcerer coming to destroy us, and we have to get this done. and it leads up very well. It perfectly leads into A New Hope. It's so good. It's so well done. It's so gritty. It really captures what, like, the grittiness of the original trilogy. It's so well done, and it's, to me, it's the best Star Wars movie ever made. 'Cause you're not relying on the Force or some magical thing. It's just these people are sacrificing for the greater good. It truly is a sacrifice, and you get that out of this trilogy. You get this out of this movie, and this was supposed to start like a series of great anthology movies. You had Rogue One, and then a year later was Solo, and it just did not. And not a year later, I'm sorry, it's a year and a half later was Solo, and it just, because of Last Jedi, it stopped all this dead in its tracks. When you look at the anthology movie, the first anthology movie made $1.5 billion, I think is what it made, something like that, and then you had Star Wars: The Force Awakens made like $2.2 billion. So about $2 billion and $1.5 billion was the benchmarks for each one, a Star Wars movie and an anthology movie. And The Last Jedi, though it did make over $1 billion because it is a Star Wars movie, it still shorted $700 million compared to what The Force Awakens did. And then Solo, because of that, suffered horribly and made only like $320 million or something like that. So you can see the effects of what Last Jedi did to the anthology series, and I was really looking forward to more anthology movies. They were going to have a lot of the shows on Disney Plus now are that. So that's my list. Now here's some things that I think Disney. Here's one of the things that frustrating about. If you notice, a lot of the Disney movies are my bottom 5. Okay, and it's nothing that Disney's done really bad. It's that Disney has a habit of thinking that they're infallible, and what they'll do is they'll make a movie and think, oh, we made a movie, we're great, no one's ever going to complain, and then people complain and they call their fans toxic. And people say that there's not a continuity here, and they call their fans toxic for thinking too much about it. And then as their last ditch effort, you know what? We got a book coming out that'll fix that issue. And I hate that about Disney. Make the movie correct the first time, and then you don't have to make these books or whatever you have, the TV show that'll fix whatever. You don't have to make these things. Make the movie make sense. Tie up these little plot holes that are very easy to notice if you just watch the movie one time through. Just notice those things. Figure those things out while you're making it, and minimize those little things that can be fixed very easily in some shows, but you have massive things that are being fixed. Like, I'll give an example. In The Last Jedi, I had a guy I used to work with, and he used to read all these books, and he used to like swear by, like, well, the book says this. And I'm like, well, there's books before Disney. Let me just make something clear here. There's books way before Disney that are not considered canon, and that's not what I'm referring to. Disney will make a movie, like they made the movie The Last Jedi, and there's so many plot holes in Last Jedi. There's, like, for example, just the first scene in the movie, you have these slow-moving bomber things. And everyone was complaining, including myself, like, why don't you just use Y-wings? Y-wings can fly in like a starfighter, like an X-wing, bomb and get in and out of there without being like moving at the speed of a snail, and not build this stupid drama that doesn't need to be built by are they gonna like bomb them or not? And then there's a book saying, oh, there's no more Y-wings left in the galaxy. That's what the guy I was telling at work said. Like, there's no Y-wings left in the galaxy according to this book. And then the very next movie, they all of a sudden there's like a whole bunch of Y-wings that fly in to destroy one of these Imperial ships. So I'm like, okay, I texted him as soon as I saw this movie, like, I thought there were no Y-wings left. And he's like, well, I'm sure, and like, there's apparently another book they made some more. I'm like, that's not how you fix movies. Okay, this is one example. I'm not gonna go into any more depth. I mean, this is supposed to be a ranking video about, you know, what I think of how I rank the Star Wars movies and what I think of them. It's all supposed to be, but this is like the one thing that irks me about the Disney-owned Star Wars universe is a lot of their stuff they have to fix with like books and animated series to fill plot holes that they create for themselves. So I'm not gonna get too much into that. This has been JD's NerdVerse. I want to thank everyone for watching. Let me know down below, what do you think is the best Star Wars movie? And did I get my list right? Is it way wrong? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Other than that, everyone have a good one, and see ya.